Good afternoon or evening, and thank you for joining us. Today, you're in for a treat. You will learn firsthand Teepa Snow's positive approach to care, known as PAC. Our Kensington team will share with you and demonstrate the strategy for caregiving for someone challenged with dementia. Leandra Sims will lead the team today, joined by April, Keith, Jacqueline, and of course, our returning guests, Joanne and Shami. Please know a copy of the webinar will be delivered to your inbox to share with friends and family. Today's conversation with Kensington's certified and trained positive approach to care team members is for you, the audience. Please ask your questions with the Q&A function on Zoom. I witnessed this approach firsthand as my father was a resident at Kensington for close to 7 years. Watch and try the advice the team will share with you today. I promise you will witness great results. Kensington delivers their promise to care for their loved ones, our loved ones, as they would their own. I am a testament to them. Join me in welcoming Leandra Sims. Leandra?
Hi, I'm Leandra Sims. Thank you. I'm Leandra Sims. It's so great to be back for part two of our positive approach to care team sharing from all the 8 Kensingtons across the country, sharing about their experience becoming a specialist in the different certifications that they had. Last week, we had a coach, a trainer, and we also had an engagement leader. This week, we're going to be talking to a champion teacher, and we're also going to have one special coach back from the pub, and we'll also have a champion teacher and a consultant. That's what we're going to have. So very, very excited to introduce our team. We do have 8 different Kensingtons now open. 2 of our communities, while we use positive approach care at all of them, 2 of them are actually PAC designated organizations, meaning that PAC recognizes them for their amazing skills. All of the team having such amazing skills and training. We're very honored to have that. So without further ado, I would love to start by letting our team introduce themselves and the certification that they have, starting with April.
Before I leave, everyone, I'll see you back for the Q&A. But I really meant what I said to the audience. You will receive a copy of this and really try what the tips and what this team, this amazing team is going to show you. And I'm just going to share one thing so I can just let the audience know. A couple questions came in. Do careers at Kensington offer employee positive approach to care classes? And I think the answer is yes. But take in mind that if you become a Kensington team member, you also will have opportunities to learn these amazing skills. I'll see you in a bit. Thanks, Leandra.
Thank you, Susan. April?
Hello, good afternoon. My name is April. I am the executive director at Kensington Place in Redwood City. I have been in senior living for about 15 years, and 5 of them have been with the Kensington. I am so honored to be a PAC champion teacher.
I was thinking Jackie. Yeah, hi, Jackie.
Hi, my name is Jackie. I am a certified PAC trainer and a consultant as well. I am from Reston, Virginia. I've been with the Kensington in Reston for a little over 2 years as the assisted living manager.
And I think we have a special guest back. Keith, you're back for more.
Sure. Yeah, I'm back for more. I love talking, and so and obviously moving to Los Angeles, I kind of like love being on camera as well, since I moved here, because isn't that why everybody moves to Los Angeles? Anyway, yes, I'm back because I was intrigued by some of the questions I saw from last week, so I'd like to talk to that with you later on this afternoon.
Well, we look forward to hearing from our coach again. And then we also have Joanne and Shami.
Hi, everybody. I'm Joanne Hubbard. I'm the Associate Executive Director here at the Kensington and White Plains, and I have been a positive approach to care trainer since 2017. So I'm happy to be back and I'm excited to hear what my friends here have to share tonight.
Thanks, Joanne.
Hello, everybody. I'm Shamaris, but everybody calls me Shammy. I'm the life of the party, and I'm happy to be back. I am from the Kensington White Plains, and my certification is engagement leader. And I've been with the Kensington for about 9 years now. They snatched me up when I was in college, so so I'm just happy to be here.
Thank you so much. So, we were going to start today's conversation with April. So, April, you are our champion teacher. But to start with, you and I have actually known each other for 10 years. We've been friends and colleagues.
Almost 11.
11. Yikes.
Forever.
So, actually 11. So, but you came to Kensington about 5 years ago, and you actually had a really unique experience. You came into a community that was already PAC designated. So there was already a team of PAC trainers and coaches and engagement leaders that you joined. What was that? What was that like?
It was amazing to see the outstanding care that was at the Kensington, and it was great to see such positive interactions. But I'll share that I didn't realize what I was seeing in real time until I got the PAC certification and saw all the skills that were used to have these great interactions.
So you actually kind of got to see the product or like the result of everyone having these PAC skills, but then went and got certified and had this like, wow, this actually, I understand where this is all coming from. And you have a very different certification called Champion Teacher. Can you tell me or tell us about Champion Teacher? What is that?
Sure. So as a champion teacher, it allows me to work with really anyone who's looking to advance their skills. It allows me to train up our care partners, our nurses, our family members, our communities. We do a lot of events for the city. We've had police officers, firefighters, where we're trying to share these skills so that we can have a really enriched community that we're all supporting people with brain changes.
Oh, the firefighters, that sounds fun.
Yes.
So when you're teaching these skills and you're helping people, what's your biggest impact or what's your biggest takeaway as you're teaching these skills? What does it really mean to you, or why do you put in all this extra time to train and teach?
I mean, first and foremost, positive approach to care has showed me that people living with brain changes are doing the best that they can every day, and we are here to support them through that. But it wasn't until I put myself in their shoes and PAC helped me really see it from their perspective that made me change everything I do. And I just want to share that, and I want everybody to have that perspective of how to support somebody.
So when you say kid putting on their shoes, are you actually like putting on a pair of shoes that a resident wears or something else?
Well, close to it. And, I might ask you all to step out of your comfort zone because I'm typically very shy, but positive approach to care put me in their shoes and they made me actually go and put myself in their own visions, perspective. And that's where my mind it was blown. I had this real aha moment.
An aha moment, to kind of take a pause and explain, an aha moment in PAC, when we talk about them, are these moments where we go, oh no, wow, that's a big piece of information. And then we go, oh wow, this is really going to change. This is going to change everything from now on. And there are really big moments that we have as trainer. And so you're talking about this aha moment. Can you share a little bit about this, oh my gosh, aha that you had?
Yes, so I actually want you all to experience it with me, and I hope it can give you all a little bit of an aha moment of your own. But I'm going to ask you all to put your hands in two circles and to put them over your eyes. And now you've just experienced binocular vision. So when it comes to brain changes, we have a lot of vision changes associated with them. And PAC allows us to put ourselves in those people's shoes. So putting my hands like this over my eyes gave me perspective of what our residents were doing, why they were reaching across tables, why they were startled when I tapped them on the shoulder. And this is where I was just floored by the perspective that it allowed me.
Wow. So it's almost like someone is coming in like this and zooming in, and you only see just pieces of things versus everything. Can you give me an example of how you would change, of something that you would shift?
One of the biggest things is when we were setting up the dining experience for our residents. There were residents that were becoming frustrated because others were taking their juices that were in front of them, and I didn't know why. And I just thought they were, looking for something to touch. Now I realize it's that vision change. So putting the place settings a little bit further out, where it's in that peripheral range that they still retain with their binocular vision, allowing them the opportunity to be successful and still independent, but giving them a little bit more guidance. It's really the setup of all those tasks.
So just one little change of where you put someone's cup can really change their ability to be able to see their drink. And maybe that person actually wasn't trying to take someone else's drink as much as that's what I saw.
Absolutely. Being able to set them up really shaped their experience.
So you make all of the team members walk around like this with their binocular vision?
I actually put them in goggles with tiny little holes to really give them perspective, but that's what the champion teacher allows me to do, is to put them in an immersive experience to see what everyone's trying to do their best with.
I love that you have really seen how you can shift and change based on a simple experience. And I love the idea of giving the team lots of experiences so they can shift and change. And I wanted to shift now as well to Jackie. So, Jackie, hi.
Hi.
I'm so excited to have you because you have a really different certification. Well, you have two. You're double certified, which is just incredible. And I know we talked to Joanne as a trainer, but we haven't talked to a consultant yet. So you are a consultant.
Correct.
So can you tell me a little bit about, oh, sorry, you're already telling me.
So I can't get enough PAC. And so I went and got my trainer and thought I need more. I went and got my consultant, but there's a story behind why I was so passionate about getting that consultant certification.
So you couldn't get enough PAC. It was just
not enough.
One was not enough. I need more. I want to learn and grow. So what's the story? I have to know. What is the big story behind why you wanted this second certification?
So it's my personal story, and so I'm going to tell you, I'm very embarrassed to tell this story because it shows all the things that went wrong without PAC knowledge. So I have lost two parents to dementia. My dad passed away in 2014 with Parkinson's dementia disease. However, back in 2012 and 2013, we spent a lot of time out caring for him in Arizona to give my stepmom relief and respite. So on one of the last visits before he went to memory care, I arrived at his home in Tucson, Arizona, flew all day to get there from Washington, D.C. And I knock on the door, and he comes to the door with his two caregivers at the time. And I said, "Hey, Dad." And he looked at me and he said, and I could tell he didn't recognize me. And he said, "Who are you?" I said, "I'm Jackie. I'm your daughter." And he said, "No, you're not." And I said, "Dad, let me in. I'm your daughter." And he said, "You're not my daughter." And so we are having this argument outside on a very hot day. And all I'm thinking about is I have to get inside because every time I go to Arizona, I see scorpions and gopher snakes 6 feet long. And the more I tried to get in and reason with him and express the logic, this is a very logical man, he wouldn't allow me in. So as a last resort, and this is how foolish I was back then, I get my purse and pull out my driver's license and say, "Dad, it says Jacqueline K. Mills let me in." He still wouldn't let me in. And so we're having this very argument outside, and one of his caregivers looked at me and said, like, go around back. Just go around back. You're not getting in. By the time I got in, he had forgotten about that sort of interaction and was busy watching daytime TV, which he never did before the disease. So we had a lot of interactions in which I wish I had known about TIPA Snow and PAC back then, because it would have made the journey, as hard as it was, that much easier.
So you really wanted to go and get this consultant so that you could support families in a way that you would have loved to have been supported. Because I'm guessing that the ID didn't work and you didn't get clearance.
No, and it was so stupid, but I know what else to do. But what he really was looking for was the other Jackie, the younger.
The other Jackie. Oh, so he was looking for a younger Jackie. So when you're thinking about this, and if I were to tell you this kind of as a daughter, what would you share with me? Hey, here's something that might be helpful. What skill do you think might be helpful?
So I think the skill that I think is so important, and we underutilize it, is reflect and validate. So as he's telling me, you're not the Jackie I'm looking for, you're not my daughter, I would have stepped back, knowing what I know now, and said, I'm not the one. I'm not the daughter. Yeah.
Oh, pause. And so you're saying we could just reflect what they're saying and then validate it, and kind of take a minute to pause and really hear what the person has to say. So would you mind showing, if I were to say it to you, would you mind showing a reflection?
Sure.
Okay, so if I were to say, you're not Jackie, you're not my daughter.
I'm not your daughter. Wow.
And then what might you say from there?
I would maybe ask, are you looking for your daughter? Can you tell me about her? And what you would say.
She's a great one. She's my greatest.
She's a good one. You're really missing her, aren't you?
Oh, I love that, Jackie.
Wow.
So, Jackie, I love the skill. I love the skill of taking a minute to reflect and then allowing him. And then what's so amazing about that is that he really would have shared how much he truly misses you and loves you,
right.
in a very unique way.
Right. And I might have taken that further and said, can you tell me about a time with Jackie? And I'm no longer Jackie. I'm just somebody he's familiar with, right? In that space and time. I'm not his daughter, because he's going back to the younger daughter. And I would have said, what about the vacation at the Grand Tetons, or the one in the Grand Canyon? Did you like one more? Because I know all the vacations. I was there, obviously, right? So, and I think that so much of the time with my dad was always trying to convince, to logic, reason, none of that was working. And the idea of stepping back and reflecting and validating would have made the relationship so much more like this versus like this. And so one of the things that drove me to get the consultant was, I want to reach back, walk alongside families right now, to coach, to educate, to support, so they can have the best relationship possible with their loved one in whatever part of the journey they're on right now. And that's so important to me.
I love that. So what a very different perspective you're coming from, to really help families hold on to that relationship and support them, and figure out how both of your needs can be met. And the validation, the reflection and validation is just one of those many, many tools that you share with our families. I love that relationship. No matter what certification you have, relationship is always at the center. It's always the very center of everything. And I think that's why we keep coming back, because connection and relationship and the promise at Kensington really tie together pretty well in a nice little bow. Thank you so much, Jackie, for sharing. That was a very personal story, and I just wanted to take a minute to share that I love that you opened up and shared that because we've all been in those moments. And I think it's important that we acknowledge that it's okay. It's okay, right? This is really hard, and we're all going to work together to hold on to that relationship. So thank you so much for
Thank you.
being willing to share such a story with us. So Keith, you're back.
Yep, back again, back again. It's great. I'm glad. I saw some questions last week that really caught my eye. I'm the manager of Haven, which is the advanced dementia neighborhood here in Redondo Beach. And there was a question that said, what happens when the mind slips and the body is strong? And that really resonates with me here working with the advanced dementia residents because it's a challenge that we face a lot with our residents.
As what happens as I lose skill, but I keep my strength.
Exactly.
Yeah, because sometimes that is what happens. Dementia takes our skill, but it doesn't take away our strength, and that's a pretty big challenge. And so you saw that question, though I do think you look great on camera. The truth is that you saw that question and really wanted to take a few minutes to sort of reach out and share some tips to support
Sure. Well,
when this is happening, because this is a pretty real scenario.
yeah, and I think as a care partner, we are all kind of scared when we encounter this reality, because what we often see is somebody who perhaps they're trying to speak to us about some what we call an unmet need. And the only way that they can do that is maybe by grabbing hold of us and holding on really tight, really, really tight, and they won't let go. Or maybe they're picking an object up and throwing it about. And we're trying to work out why they're doing this. And sadly, what often happens with people exhibiting this kind of behavior is that they're labeled as being aggressive and combative. And it's really not that. That's what
So you don't
PAC
really
taught
see
me.
it. You don't see it that way. You don't
No,
see people living with brain change as being aggressive or being agitated. You really see it as these unmet needs that they have, and they're doing their best to express them to you.
exactly. They're trying to communicate to me that they need help with something or they're frustrated at the situation they're in. And the only, as we said, they've lost the skill. They can't find the words to tell me what's troubling them, or maybe they can't do something for themselves anymore, and they want me as a care partner to help them in that moment. And this is how they show that to us. Yeah.
So how could you figure out what some of these unmet needs are? Like how do you, like, I mean, that if they can't talk and they can't tell you and they're just grabbing onto you, what are some ways of figuring this out?
So you have to become a detective. You really have to think like a detective. Could it be this? Could it be that? Are they hungry? Are they cold? Is it too noisy here? Is this the time of day where their mind is saying to them, I've got to be somewhere else because I got to go. And my mom is expecting me home from school at this time. I've got to go now. It could be something like that. And we're really exploring what these possibilities are. You can try going for a walk with them and maybe guiding them to the restroom. And suddenly they're like, "Oh yes, I'm I'm where I wanted to be," and they suddenly that grip loosens up a bit, and they're let you help them use the restroom. As simple as that. It's really exploring possibilities. We have to just keep thinking for our residents because, after all, they're just doing the best they can to communicate to us what their need is.
Yeah, and I think they are really doing the best they can. And there is one need that's really hard for them to share, and that's pain, right? When someone's in pain,
Yeah.
it's really difficult for them to express, and it can look like they're being very, anxious or fearful or or almost like, are they just trying to reach into my soul and find the thing that might make it the hardest for me. But the truth is, like, it can feel like that sometimes. And
Yeah.
I think we really wanted to address, yeah, this could be really hard. But as we seek out those needs, and maybe discover, because I know I've discovered, like, wow, there's a blister on her toe. That actually happened to me once.
Yeah.
And she had a blister, and I could not believe it. And she was just so upset, and everybody was kind of not trying. It took a while, a lot of detective work. And when we found that blister, and I took that shoe off, her face just went, and it
Yeah.
was really amazing. Do you have an example like that you could share?
Sure. Yeah, we have there's a lady that I work with, and she has aphasia, so she struggles to get her words out, and she'll just start screaming. And oftentimes people labeled her as just being like this angry. She was just angry woman. But we realized through getting to know her and thinking about what she was going through and putting ourselves in her shoes, what it could be that she was anxious about. And like many of us, she just had a great fear about having an accident. As we all know, as we get older, we have less control over our bladders. So that was when she would start screaming because she couldn't tell you what she wanted to do. But we worked out it's usually, not always, but usually that she needs some help finding that restroom.
Wow, that's amazing. And you probably took a fair, I mean, you're making it sound simple, but I'm sure you
Oh,
had to, you had to switch up quite a few things
sure.
before.
Are you hungry? Are you thirsty?
No, that's the
No!
last thing I want, right?
Exactly.
That's not water.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Well, thank you, Keith. I think that is such an amazing thing to share, and I really appreciate your heart for reading that and wanting to come back. I know that there have been a few questions, and Susan is going to come back on to share some of those questions that we might have.
I first of all have a couple comments, and we do have some questions, but your aha moment, April, wow. I mean, when you're navigating your atmosphere, or where you're going to be, and you just do this, it brings so much light into it. And I was just thinking about, certainly when my dad lived at Kensington for 7.5 years, I noticed that they were always adjusting, because he always had the same table he wanted to sit at, but everything had to be in the same place. And I thought it was my dad just being kind of obsessive compulsive. But I realize now that it was making his mealtime better for him, that there was really a lot of thought into that. So I'm so glad that you shared that. And Jackie, wow, I just love your story. Uh, to reflect and validate. I have a question for you though. My mom also passed away from Parkinson's, and does it work with hallucinations? Like, can you do any type of, what can you do with the reflect and validate, if they're having a hallucination? Does it work in that regard?
So I think the absolutely wrong thing to do is to say that's not there, that's not present, right? That's not going to help them. So I think it's oftentimes when working with persons with Lewy body, which is a lot of hallucinations, typically I might say, tell me more. What are they doing right now? Should I do something? Are we safe? As opposed to not really saying, I see that as well, but looking to, again, listen to what they're saying, trying to figure out what we should be doing. What is the plan? And then possibly, redirect. But I think it's the same thing. It's reflecting on what they've said, they've seen or heard, and it's making sure that they feel safe in that moment, right? And then how can I support you? What can I do to support you? Are we okay? Are you okay? And sometimes and that will end. So I think it's the same sort of avoiding that argument that no, there's nobody there, that you're just seeing things again. It's a hallucination. But really saying, kind of digging, going with them through that and digging deep and saying, huh, again, what are they doing out there? Oh, they're in a tree. Oh, okay. Are they safe? Should we do something? And working through it in that way.
That's just, in my opinion, so helpful in everyday life. It kind of reminds me of my 2-year-old grandson. Same type of a thing. But
Exactly.
why have an argument? They're frustrated, they can't communicate. You don't believe what they're saying. Maybe you don't understand, but it's not going to do any good to have a fight about it. So I really appreciate that. And Keith, welcome back. And I actually love what you said about, the mind slips, the body's strong. But wearing the detective hat, and Leandra added into that with the blister, rather than just disregarding the aggression or the unhappiness or, the agitation, really trying to figure it out. Is it too loud? Are
Hmm.
they hungry? Did they not like their life? I mean, I just, I'm so glad that we all take the time to do that with our residents. I just think it's so important.
Yeah.
So we have a few questions that came in here, but the first question is, do the 8 Kensington communities, 3 on the west, 5 on the east, do they offer positive approach to care events? Like, can I come to an in-person event and actually meet someone and do that? So I'll put April on that one.
We do. We have in-person events at multiple communities. I was able to experience one that we put on for the city of Sierra Madre earlier this year with Leandra, and we have one that's going to be coming up in Redwood in September. But you can also, we have a texting number that you can join for upcoming PAC events and trainings. And yeah, we definitely do. We want to try and share the knowledge with all of you and with anybody who's willing to listen, because it's just such a benefit to try and help everyone be successful.
And those are really well attended by professional people that are living the caregiving journey. But I would encourage everybody to go on the particular website where you live, and all the events are on the website. So that's probably the best way to find out what's available in your area. And then, Leandra, can anyone become PAC certified?
Yes. So through the positive approach to care, it is quite a bit of journey and learning. I would encourage anyone to take any part of the journey, whether it's just taking a few champion classes and learning some skills, all the way, or becoming certified. They have a wonderful team at PAC that can help you. You do not have to work for the Kensington to be PAC certified. And I know that it is definitely an amazing experience, especially because people who are living with dementia are also on the positive approach to care team. And I think that's really what makes such a difference for the positive approach to care. It really helps me, and the fact that I get to learn every day from people who are living with dementia and have them share with me, here's what will help me. I think that's what PAC is really grounded in. And so yeah, I encourage anyone to learn anything, because living with dementia is not something that is a small amount of our world. It's affecting everyone across the world, and the numbers that we're heading towards, that you're either going to be someone living with dementia or probably caring for someone with dementia at some point. And I think it's important that education, that we learn, that we help people, and that rather than just diagnosing, the support. That's my biggest thing, is we really need to support, because if my only experience before learning, my husband, for example, were to be diagnosed, if I hadn't had any experience with this, I can't imagine facing it. So the more education, the better, in my opinion, so that people can be supported. My dream is that one day, especially in any town Kensington is, that people walking down the street would have so many people with so many skills around them that they would just be like at a restaurant, and maybe people would just be able to support them. That's my dream, or wherever they are. that's my dream.
And you're going to move that needle for the 35 million caregivers right now in this country that are caring for someone with dementia. There's 172 types of dementia, and on an average, and there's 6 million people that are diagnosed, and an average of 5 caregivers per diagnosis. That's a lot of people. So, Leandra, I applaud you and get your boots on.
I just think it's amazing because it really works. And I think that's what everybody here, that's the universal thought that everybody's been sharing. Jackie and Keith and April and Joanne and Shami, we're all saying, hey, these skills work and we need to change for the people living with dementia. And the most important thing is that we keep our relationship with them. It's really important.
Absolutely. And Jackie, how do I help mitigate behavior when someone's insisting on buying the thing over and over and over, kind of obsessive compulsive behavior? Any thoughts on that?
So I think again, I totally believe that looking at, the unmet needs that Keith referenced are really important to figure out, you know, is there an unmet need? Is there something that, we need to change in that person's routine, the environment, what they're engaging in? Oftentimes there's environmental changes that we can make that certainly impact, a person's communication, and depending on what that obsessive thing is that they want, I mean, I might go ahead and entertain that and allow them to have that. I think it depends on a case by case basis, but I think there's so many things that we control when it comes to somebody's. I'm not going to use the word behavior. I'll use expressive communication, right? Because every time you see an action, it's expressing something. We have to figure out what is that expressing and then look at that. But I mean, obsessive compulsive behaviors may or may not be part of the dementia. That could have been who they were before too, right? So I think you have to unpack that a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I love working with times when we can't figure out why somebody is expressing themselves in a particular way. And I do love being that detective that begins to rule out everything. Is it the time of day? Is it the activities? Is it too much, too little, not enough, too hot, too cold, ate too much, didn't eat enough? Did they go to the bathroom too much, not enough? Like ruling everything out and looking at, until you have gone through, exhausted everything to figure out, what do we have the power and ability to change? Because we can change, we can modify. And again, our residents are doing the best that they can with what they've got. So it has to be us that's flexible and figure out that new sort of plan or new sort of care for them to maybe make that express communication no longer necessary, replace it with another one that might be slightly more appropriate.
Again, my father's mind slipped, but he was physically very strong. And I witnessed the care team together was a group of detectives. Like they would meet and I would come to the meetings. They would say, let's really understand, because they wanted my perspective. I'm the daughter. What's going on with your father that we can help, mitigate, challenges, I'll call them. And the whole team was together, like his whole care team was together. It was very impressive. So it takes a team, and that's why we're all here. Keith, this is perfect for you. How do I handle someone who doesn't communicate in English? I know you communicate in English, but we just all love your accent.
So, great question, because not only do we have residents, when you have dementia, typically, even though you maybe were a fluent English speaker, you may revert back to your first language if you grew up with a different first language. And we have that a lot here. And it's a lot of the challenge is to be that detective again. So if somebody's talking in Korean, for example, we're going to nod the head and say, smile and yes, see what's the reaction to that? If I go, oh, yes, and then they look upset, then I know, no, that's not what they're talking. They're not happy with me agreeing with them. They're upset about something. So it's, Oh, maybe you're cold. And we'll start doing a lot of physical gestures. You cold? You thirsty? You want to go somewhere? Do you just need a hug? And it could be things like that. So you're doing a lot of acting, which, hey, I love to act. So that's right up my street. But that's what I would be doing. I'd be doing a lot of acting out and offering different things, but safely. So yeah.
I love the communication through sign language. Not really sign language, but just showing that demonstration because that's such a great way to communicate visually. I love that. Leandra, a question for you. Anita wants to know, how do we connect with a consultant? And Anita, I'm going to assume maybe you could clarify whether that's someone at Kensington, and you can certainly do that on the individual community websites, but how would they connect with a TIPA Snow consultant? Or how do they access classes?
Actually has complimentary 30 minutes. You can reach out to them and they will have a mentor call you, and for 30 minutes complimentary, they'll go ahead and talk to you. Obviously, any of the PAC certified team here at Kensington, and every community has at least two, are happy if you reach out. We're happy to also have talk with you. We use a great tool called the 6 pieces of the puzzle. We're happy to show you kind of, here's things that we could change and work on. Here's things that we just can't shift. And so at any time you can reach out. And then if you wanted to continue on with Positive Approach to Care, they also have family groups that you can sign up for that are ongoing, that are set up. And I think there are series that you can join in. There's obviously here at Kensington support groups, and I think it's funny. I just did an event today, and we had someone there, and she was actually in the early stages herself, and it was so brave of her. She shared about it, and I think the more that you share, the more that we talk about it, the better the conversation is. So please don't feel like it's some deep, dark secret. That's the old way of thinking about people living with dementia. Now we live with dementia, we celebrate and we enjoy and laugh and work together.
And thank you for helping take the stigma away. I can't thank the whole entire Kensington family enough for that. So I have gotten a bunch of questions about how do I get part 1? I missed that. So I will clearly tell everybody you'll receive part 1 and part 2 in an email in the next few days. So you will have both. You can share with friends and family, and stay tuned for part 3 because this has been wildly successful. So we will continue this series with our expert positive approach to care consultants. Why don't we finish, and Leandra, you can involve Keith, April, and Jackie. Just remind us about why it's so important about connecting purpose and meaning, and then we will say goodnight, and we will look forward to seeing everybody again soon. Leandra, it's yours.
I think that that sometimes I go back to the stigma that it means that you're thinking I'm living with dementia and that I cannot be of service and I can't make a difference. And boy, after 10 years of being almost 11, thank you for the reminder, April, being at the Kensington, I will tell you, not only do people living with dementia have the ability to have purpose and meaning, but they've put purpose and meaning to my life. The best advice that I ever have gotten, I have gotten from people living with dementia. So I will give you the one piece of advice that I got, which has led me to all of this PAC. She actually shared with me, you know what, honey? You should think of what you want to do and ask people to help you. And I have followed her advice to this day, and that is what I do. I want to make a difference, and I ask people to help me. April, did you want to kind of share a little bit about your purpose and meaning?
Sure. I would just share purpose for me, wherever somebody is with their brain changes. I just want everyone to know there's so much more that they still have to give, right? There's so much more life. There's so much more first time experiences, opportunity, engagement, laughter, love, and partnering to do with somebody and adapting how we interact so that they can be successful and we can share those moments. That's what fulfills my heart. That's what I want to share. It's a journey. Be patient, be kind to yourself. We all make mistakes, we all learn, but don't ever give up because there's still so much.
Jackie, you wanna add to that?
Yeah, I would say that I certainly echo the sentiments of April in that, in the past, when you got the diagnosis, dementia, it was like an immediate, a death sentence, right? Except we're all going to die, right? So you have to figure out how do you live with dementia and make life its fullest. And I think one of the things that really sticks in my mind is that dementia doesn't rob you of your intelligence. So you're talking about interaction and programming, engagement. So much of the past would have been, here's some coloring sheets, color, but people have so much more ability, so much more skills left that we need to tap into and look at what does strength-based model look like for programming engagement to bring out those engineers, to bring out those attorneys and let all those skills still shine as opposed to say, hey, now we've got to resort to this very simplistic kind of programming when there's parts of the brain that are still so active and functioning so well that we need to highlight that.
Keith, you're on.
So, for me, I don't know if people are aware of the Kensington's core values, but one that really sings out to me is the love for seniors. And this is when we think about dementia, um, for me, love is what really helps us be care partners with people living with dementia. If we can generate that love for the person with dementia and remember that they're doing the best that they can, and this is where maybe that person doesn't remember. Remember Jackie's story. Her father didn't know that that was his daughter, but she still had love for her father, and she showed it. And this is what we do with our residents all the time here. We just have love towards them, and we show them that love by the way we interact with them, by how we get close to them. And that's the number one thing you can do, I feel, to help somebody that is living with dementia is just show them love, unconditional love. And that's why I love coming to this place. And I've been coming here now for 6 years. And there's people that you talked about your own dad, Susan, and how long he lived at the Kensington. The Kensington has people who live for many, many years with dementia. And I truly believe it's because love is at the center of everything we do with them. It's really impactful and it helps them live longer because they have a meaningful life and they have love in their life here. It's great. And Teepa Snow's helped me with understanding the skills to show that love.
Okay, now you're going to make me cry because Joanne Hubbard, who was on our last week's episode, was the executive director where my father lived. And she came up to me once and she gave me the biggest hug and she said, your dad's mind may be compromised, but his heart is not. So let's end with that. Good evening if you're on the east. Good afternoon if you're on the west, but everybody have a very safe evening. Take care.